Welcome to this online course on electricity and safety measures. So in today's session, we are going to discuss about the basics of electricity. So learners, you all know that electricity is so closely linked to our day-to-day life that living without electricity would be a suffocating thought to many of us. Can you imagine your life without electricity? No. So electricity in its commonly usable form is manufactured product. It is not something that you pumped out of the ground or mine or collect it from the sun or wind. That means you have to generate it. So the energy sources we use to make electricity can be conventional, which is also known as the non-renewable, and renewables. So any kind of source which is easily available to us, like the coal, natural gas, oil, nuclear power. So these can be used to generate electricity. Generally we get it from the energy conversion of the other sources like these coal, gas, oil and other natural resources. So electricity is one of the most widely used form of energy. So now you must be thinking, what is energy? Energy has been universally recognized as one of the most important inputs for economic growth and human development. So this is very essential for the life, or we can say energy is the essence of life. How? So energy, the capacity for doing work. How do we define it? Generally we define the energy as a capacity for doing work. It may exist in many forms like potential, kinetic, thermal, electrical, chemical, nuclear or other various forms. So in any engineering process, you know that it involves the conversion of energy from one form to another form, or the transfer of energy from one place to another place, and the storage of energy in various form. So you all know that how energy can be transformed. Like suppose you drive the car, so we are using fuel or oil. So our source is what? Oil. This is which is the fuel, and from this in the car we are getting the kinetic energy to move the car. Similarly, suppose the chemical energy which is available in the form of the oil, and this can be converted into the electricity. Then this can be converted into the other form. This electricity, suppose electrical energy you are getting, it can be converted into the sound energy, or as you and the light energy. Similarly, if you are getting the food, that the chemical energy received from the food, it can be converted into the any kind of work. Suppose you are playing the football, so you are getting the energy. So there the food energy you are receiving from the food, it is converted into the work. So this energy can be transformed from one form to the other form. So now you know that this electrical energy is very most useful form of the energy. Why? What are the advantages of this? It is very easy to transport electrical energy from one place to the other place. And why this is advantageous? Because when we transport it from the one place to another place, then there are minimum losses in the transportation. Then it is very easy to control and regulate. And with the electrical energy, one more advantage is that it can be converted easily from one form to the another form. It is very easy. Just electrical energy, you know that you can convert into the sound energy, you can convert into the light energy, or even you can convert into the heat energy. So in your daily life, you see many examples where you are using, suppose a heater, you are using a bulb, you are using television. So in all form, the electricity is converted into the other form. So whenever we think about the electricity, one thing must come in our mind, that what is the electrical power system you just see the overhead lines which are going through the lines are running through the road, and so here you can imagine one thing, that what is happening there. Somewhere the energy is generating, this is the electrical energy. So generation of the electrical energy, then transmission of this, then distribution is this, that means you are getting it up to the end users, or that you are the consumer. Some industry can be consumer, hospital can be consumer. So how this electrical power is generated and then distributed till end users. So this is also one thing which is of interest when we study about the basic electrical. So transmission means what? Sending the electrical energy from the generating station to the load centers. This load centers can be anything. It can be the load centers of state load center, from where the electrical energy can be distributed to the others, or it can be the centers. That means you can say it can be delivered to the consumer end also, at your house, industry. So transmission network consists of the transformers, conductors, supporting towers, safety equipment, and voltage compensation equipment. So many things, many equipments are required when we transmit the electrical energy from generating station to the consumer end. So now the question is coming, that how energy travels from the generating station to the consumers. So this figure shows the generating station to the distribution end. You can see here there is a generating plant from where the electricity is being generated, and it is giving to some transformer, and where that some transformation process takes place, then energy is generating, suppose at 11 kilovolt, then it is being step up to the 220 volt or 440 volt for the transmission. So for this, the transformers are used at the substations. Then the transmission lines are there, the long length transmission lines are there, and they carry the electrical power to the substations, and then from there the distribution lines are there, which take the power to the consumer end. So this is a simple layout how the electricity travel from generating plant to the consumer. This is also coming into the mind that we have heard about the single phase, 3-phase electrical supply. So I am just showing you one figure which is showing that the single phase, the transformer is mounted on the pole, and this single phase power line is there. You can see there is a 3-wire system. One transformer is there which is supplying the either 120 volt or 220 volt. So here again you can see here the 3-phase power line. So there are 4 wires leading from the transformers to the building. So this is a simple figures which are just making you clear that what is the single phase supply and what is the 3-phase supply. So the objective of our this session or this is to know about the electricity. So here you will be able to explain electricity after going through complete sessions of the basics of electricity. You should be able to explain electricity, describe what is matter, what are free electrons. Then you should be able to explain the key terms like voltage, current, power, energy. You should be able to define resistance and impedance, describe 3 types of electricity loads, and define the power system efficiency. So one more important term which comes when we study about the electricity is the power factor. So what is this power factor, phase angle, and differentiate between the active and reactive power. Some knowledge of active and reactive power is very essential. So at least you should know about what is this, and then you will come to know about the electromagnets, which are very useful when we use the generator and motor actions. So anything we observe and interact which possesses mass and occupies space is called matter. So from where it is coming? So first of all, we should have the knowledge about the matter, and this matter can be any of the 3 forms: solid, liquid or gas. The matter consists of molecules, and molecules are made up of one or more atoms. That means we can say that atom is the basic building block for any molecule. That means any matter you are seeing, you are observing, you are interacting, which is occupying the space is the matter, any solid, any liquid, any gas. So, these atoms and molecules that are electrically neutral and having the equal number of positive charge and negative charge. So, what are these charges? These charges are the protons in the nucleus and electrons in the shells surrounding the nucleus. So, now we are discussing the matter. So, so you can see here the solid, liquid, gas and plasma state. These are the 4 states of the matter. So, how you can see here very structured form the solid state is being shown here, which is where the molecular structure is being shown. So, molecule forces closely bind and it closely bind the molecules to one another. So, you can see here this is the solid state, and solid holds its and when you talk about the liquid, what is happening, that molecular forces are weaker than the solid and hence molecules are free to move around in the case of the liquid. So, these are the, you can see here the molecules which is taking the shape of the container. The liquid is placed in one container, then it is taking that shape. So, just it is giving one idea about how these particles are arranged in one matter. So, now you can see the gas molecular forces are very weak in the form of, in gas. That means they are very weak forces are amongst these molecules. So, here the gas fills in its container, taking both the shape and the volume of that container. Or the plasma is the last stage, the 4th stage of the matter. So, basically this is the ionized gas, a gas into which sufficient energy is provided to free electron from atom and molecules. So, when you get this free electron from the atoms and molecules, this kind of a state can be reached, which is called the plasma state. Let me give you some idea about the atomic structure. So, an atom is what? Smallest particle of any element which can be identified. It is composed of smaller subatomic particles. And what are these particles? These particles are electrons, protons and neutrons. So, the properties of an element are identified in the atom, but not in the subatomic parts. So, you know that when we talk about, you can see here the structure of an atom, that nucleus is the center part. So, in that nucleus there are protons and neutrons. So, the center part is called nucleus and is made up of the protons and neutrons, and electrons move around the nucleus. So, you can see here that they are moving around the nucleus in a orbit, and which can be the circular or ellipse. So, these are also termed as shell. So, from there you can understand about the free electrons, which is of the point of interest for us to form the electricity. So, these are some electrons are very tiny little particles and negative electrical charge, and these particles spins around the nucleus, and protons are much larger and heavier than the electrons and have opposite charge, that means positive charge, but the equal magnitude of the charge of an electron. So, like 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb. So, here the protons is having also this charge, and one electron is also having this charge. Neutrons are large and heavy like protons. However, neutrons have no electrical charge and they are neutral. So, these are situated in the nucleus. So, now what is the free electron, which is because why we do want to know about the free electrons, because this is the electron which is carrier of electricity. That means in one matter when there are atoms and in atom we would like to have the free electrons which can move around and can movement of this electron generate is called flow of electricity, or flow of electron is called electricity. So, the electrons spinning in the last shell of the atom are called free electrons. So last shell, when the electron will be at last shell, this will be the force which is from the nucleus, it will be less as compared to the other shells. So it can be easily made available if some external force is applied. That means these free electron can be removed from its shell by a relatively smaller force if it is at the this electron is at the last shell. So the reason for the free electrons to be released could be many. It can be the mechanical reason, it can be the chemical, or it can be presence of external electrical field. So in case of the battery cell, as you know that there is a chemical reaction, and this leads to release of the electricity charged ion, and which release the free electron to the terminals of the cell. So now let us come to the very basic parameters. So whenever we talk about the electricity, we talk about the current, voltage, resistance. So these two basic parameters are the current and voltage, which are the measurable quantities. So and resistance defines the relation between the current and voltage in an electrical circuit. So it comes as a measure of opposition to flow of charge. So this is the property by which in any matter this what resistance do? It oppose the flow of charge. So first of all we will see what is current. So the flow of electron in any conducting material from one point to the another is called current. So while the electron move from negative terminal to positive one, by convention the current is said to flow from positive to the negative terminal. That's opposite. Flow of electron is in one direction, though. So the electricity, we can say that the current is flowing to the another direction. That means the movement of negative charge and movement of this positive, we can say here. So by convention we can say the current flow from the positive to negative terminal. So basic unit of the current is ampere, and what instrument we use for to measure the current? This is called ammeter. So ammeter can be connected in series or in any circuit. Whenever you want to measure the current, that means you have to connect in that circuit, and that ammeter, that instrument can be connected in series with that circuit. So now let us come to the electrical voltage. What is this? Electromotive force or potential difference which cause the flow of electrons in any conductor. That means flow of current in any conductor. So an electrical generator, suppose we take the case of battery, it forces electron to move from atom to atom. So that means what we are experiencing? We are experiencing one kind of pressure which is pushing. So this push or force is like a pressure, just like take the example of a pump in a water system. So which force the water from one place to the another place. So just like electricity also, that electrons can also feel some push and move from one place to another place. So in an electrical circuit, this pressure is called what? Voltage or electromagnetic force. And what is the unit to measure it? It is volt, by which the electrical pressure is measured. So now what instrument we use to measure the voltage? It is voltmeter. So voltmeter is connected in the parallel to the circuit, and two terminals points between which the current flow. Now coming to the resistance. Once we know about the current, voltage, then if we can measure the current and voltage, we can measure the resistance also. Then this is the property of any substance or matter which gives opposition to the flow of electron through itself. That means anybody, if you would like to move the electron from one place to another place, so it has a tendency to oppose it. So if we apply the same voltage to the ends of different material, the amount of the current that flows will differ in each case. Why? This is because of the property of resistance. Every matter or every substance has the different resistance. So resistance is the property that causes this kind of difference. That means the different kind of current is flowing through different matter when you apply the same voltage there. So higher the resistance, lesser would be the current. So in general, in metal have the less resistance, and hence are suitable as conductor of electricity. The most common conductor are copper, aluminum and silver. So, in general, because silver is costly, so we use the copper and aluminum for our general purpose. So, some other types of material show the value to the high resistance. So, why they are important? Yes, they are also very important because they will work as a insulator that will not allow the current to flow. So, such material are termed as non-conductor. So, if non-conducting material is used to deliberately prevent the electricity being conducted, so it is named as insulator. So, how can we measure the resistance? Resistance is measured in ohm. This is the unit of measuring the resistance. An instrument which is used to measure the resistance is ohmmeter. So, whenever we study about the current, voltage and resistance, so what is the relationship between them? So, it is defined by the Ohm's law, which is the basic statement of the relationship between the voltage, current and their relationship with the resistance. What is this? So, Ohm's law states that for any conductor, in case of the constant temperature, suppose we take here the constant temperature, the current in the conductor is directly proportional to the potential difference across it. So, whatever, suppose you increase the voltage difference, the current can be increased. So, there is a direct linear relation between the voltage and current. So, here when we make it in terms of expression, then we can say V is equal to R into I. So, here R is called the constant of proportionality. So, where the constant of proportionality is called resistance of the conductor, which is measuring in the ohm. So, current is inversely proportional to the resistance. If the resistance is more, that means current is less. If the resistance is less, means current is more. So, here just I am showing the substance which is having the resistance R across which the voltage V is applied, and then the current I is flowing through that. Then we can get the relationship V is equal to R into I. So, if we can measure the voltage, if we can measure the current, then we can measure the resistance also. After this, it is very important to know about the term power, energy and efficiency. So, we are interested in electricity because it can be useful, it can do the useful work for us. So, therefore, we want to quantify how much work can be derived from it. So, this capacity is defined in terms of the power and energy. So, there is a relation between the power and energy also. So, what is power? The power is the rate of doing work. If you can do the work in a very small time, that means the more power. If you are taking more time, that means less power. So, in case of the electricity, we define it as the product of voltage and current. So, power is used to produce real work. So, what is the unit to measure the power? So, it is joule per second, because rate of doing work unit is the joule. So, joule per second, or joule per second is called watt. So, P is equal to V into I, power is equal to voltage into current. So, this is a basic relationship between the voltage, current and power. That means, how can you define the 1 watt? So, when the 1 volt multiplied with the 1 ampere, you can get the 1 watt. So, bigger unit of the power is what? Kilowatt. When you measure the electricity or energy, what is coming to your energy meter? So, this is called 1 unit. So, 1 unit is 1 kilowatt hour. That means 1 kilowatt multiplied by 1 hour. Similarly, 1000 watt is equal to 1 megawatt. So, when we talk about the capacity of any power plant, so it is easy to express it in the big unit, that is in the megawatt or gigawatt. Now, the what is energy? So, we have already get the idea of this energy. So, capacity for doing work is called energy. To say it differently, it is the rate of doing work. So, the power multiplied by time for which that power is applicable. So, how we can measure it in the kilowatt hour. 1 kilowatt hour is equal to 1000 watt for 1 hour. That means 1 kilowatt multiplied by 1 hour, or we can say 1000 watt for 1 hour. So, this is called 1 kilowatt hour. Similarly, 1 kilowatt hour is also called as a 1 unit of electrical energy. As we measure at our home that how much units one AC has been consumed. Suppose we are saying that 2 unit it is being consumed by running at AC, or some electrical appliances are being operated, then how many units they are consuming. That means how many how much electrical energy they are consuming, and across and according to that the bill is generated, which is called the tariff, and the tariff is decided by the electrical companies. So, a larger unit is megawatt hour, which is 1000 kilowatt hour. What is efficiency? You all know about this term efficiency. In general, you have the general idea of this, but you will understand about in the case of the electricity, what is this. So, in an ideal situation, we should be able to convert the every bit of energy fed to the system to get the useful work or to get its output. That means whatever input we are giving, we get we would like to get the output of the same amount, but does it happen? No. That means we are not getting the ideal situations. So, from here the term of efficiency comes. So, when we say that suppose total input energy we are giving 100 and we are getting the output of 80, that means efficiency is 80%, or we can say 0.8. So, how can we define the efficiency? This is the output energy to ratio of output energy to total input energy. So, if we are not getting the whatever we are giving the input and we are not getting the same kind of output there, then what is happening? That means there are some losses. So, how we can express that losses? This losses, that means the output energy is what? Input energy minus losses. So, efficiency can also be expressed in terms of this the ratio of input energy minus losses to input energy. Similarly, we can define the percentage of efficiency. Here we are interested to know about the efficiency of the power system. So, how the efficiency of the power system can be maximized? This is our interest. So, efficiency of whenever the efficiency is maximized, then there are benefits like the power loss of the system is these all kind of losses are minimized. You will study in the later chapters that there are some losses which are called the technical losses and the commercial losses. So, these all losses it is very essential for us to minimize these losses. So, these losses can be in the form of the heat also, some technical losses. So, these whatever we are giving input, we are not getting the output, that means some losses. So, these power losses need to be minimized. So, if we maximize the efficiency, so extra capacity is made available to the transmission lines, distribution lines and substation equipment, because these are rated at the amount of current carrying capacity, and if the current flow is less, then more capacity available to serve the additional load. So, it is the advantage of maximizing the efficiency of the system. So, you will come to know about the real power, then so the total power becomes the real power when we maximize the efficiency of the this power system. That means the efficiency of the power system is maximized when the total load on the system approaches purely resistive, we can say here, if we are getting full, but it does not happen in ideal situation. So, the current requirements and the losses are minimum. So, one way to measure the power system efficiency by calculating the power factor, which you will learn in the later stage. So, when you talk about the power system, so you have to know about all these terms.